The Witch's Sacrifice. 13-year-old Jake was thrilled to have the house to himself for the weekend while his parents were away on a trip. With a list of chores and a stack of horror movies, he planned to enjoy his brief taste of independence. On the first night, he heard strange noises coming from the woods behind his house, but he shrugged them off as animals. The second night, Jake noticed an eerie glow coming from the forest. Curiosity got the better of him, and he ventured out to investigate. Deep within the trees, he stumbled upon an old, decrepit cabin. The windows flickered with an unnatural light, and the air was thick with an acrid smell. As he approached, he felt an invisible force drawing him closer. The forest was alive with whispers, the rustling leaves and distant calls of nocturnal animals forming an eerie symphony. Jake's heart raced, but his curiosity outweighed his fear. He stepped cautiously, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The glow intensified as he neared the cabin, casting long shadows that seemed to dance and writhe with a life of their own. The cabin was a relic of a bygone era, its wooden walls warped and covered in moss. The windows, despite the flickering light inside, were grimy and cracked. The smell was almost overwhelming now, a mix of burning herbs and something far more sinister. Jake hesitated at the door, his hand trembling as he reached for the handle. It felt as though an unseen force was urging him forward, compelling him to step inside. Inside the cabin, he found a withered old woman hunched over a cauldron, chanting in a language he didn't understand. Her voice was low and melodic, weaving a spell that sent shivers down his spine. The walls were lined with shelves filled with jars of strange, preserved creatures and plants. The air was thick with the scent of incense and decay. As if sensing his presence, the witch's eyes snapped open, and she turned to face him with a sinister grin. Her eyes were dark and empty, like two bottomless pits. She was draped in tattered robes, her hair a wild tangle of gray strands. Despite her decrepit appearance, there was an aura of immense power around her. The witch had been waiting for him. Paralyzed with fear, Jake couldn't move as she approached. She spoke in a soft, soothing voice, promising to show him wonders if he stayed. Her words seemed to bypass his conscious mind, sinking into his very soul. Hypnotized by her voice, Jake found himself following her deeper into the cabin, unaware of the ritual she was preparing. The interior of the cabin was a labyrinth of dark corners and hidden alcoves, each filled with strange artifacts and occult symbols. The witch led him to a stone altar, adorned with ancient runes and surrounded by burning candles. The flickering flames cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere of otherworldly dread. Jake's fear grew with each step, but he couldn't resist the pull of the witch's power. She bound him with enchanted ropes that tightened at her command. Jake struggled, but the witch's power was too strong. The ropes felt alive, writhing and constricting around him. His heart pounded in his chest, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The witch began her incantations, drawing energy from the earth and sky. Her voice rose and fell in a haunting melody, resonating with a power that made the very air vibrate. As the ritual progressed, the room filled with a blinding light. Jake's vision blurred, and he felt a strange warmth spread through his body. The symbols on the altar glowed with an otherworldly energy, and the candles burned brighter, their flames reaching toward the ceiling. The witch's power was at its peak, and Jake could feel his life force being drained away. In the final moments, Jake felt a strange calm wash over him. His fear dissipated, replaced by a sense of acceptance. The witch completed her ritual with a flourish, her eyes blazing with triumph. With a swift motion, she ended his life, sacrificing him to gain eternal youth and power. The light faded, and the forest fell silent once more. When his parents returned home, they found the house empty and silent. Panic set in as they searched every room, calling his name. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that had once filled their home. They contacted the police, but the search yielded no clues. The only thing they found was an old legend about the Witch of the Woods, who claimed a soul every generation. The horror of their son's fate would haunt them forever, a grim reminder of the unseen dangers lurking in the shadows. They became prisoners of their own grief, their home a shrine to their lost son. The woods, once a place of adventure and curiosity, became a forbidden zone, shrouded in darkness and fear. The legend of the witch grew with each retelling, a story of dark magic and sacrifice that sent chills down the spines of those who heard it. The cabin remained hidden deep within the forest, a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin, and where an ancient evil still lingered, waiting for its next victim. Jake's disappearance became a cautionary tale, a dark fable whispered among the townsfolk. Children were warned to stay away from the woods, and even the bravest of souls avoided its depths. The forest, once a symbol of natural beauty and wonder, was now a place of dread, a constant reminder of the price of curiosity. The witch, rejuvenated by her sacrifice, continued her dark existence, her power growing with each passing year. She remained a phantom in the night, an unseen predator lurking in the shadows, always watching, always waiting. The cabin stood as her lair, a monument to her immortality and the countless souls she had claimed. For Jake's parents, life would never be the same. They lived in a state of perpetual mourning, their every thought consumed by the loss of their son. The house, once filled with laughter and love, became a mausoleum, a place of sorrow and regret. The forest, with its hidden horrors, loomed ever present in their minds, a dark entity that had taken everything from them. Despite the passage of time, the pain of their loss remained fresh, a wound that refused to heal. They clung to each other, their bond forged in shared grief, but nothing could fill the void left by Jake's absence. The legend of the witch was a constant reminder of the darkness that existed in the world, a darkness that had irrevocably changed their lives. The townsfolk, too, were affected by Jake's disappearance. The story of the witch became a part of the town's identity, a dark chapter in its history. Every generation heard the tale, a warning of the dangers that lurked beyond the safety of their homes. The forest, once a place of exploration and wonder, was now a symbol of fear and caution. Years passed, and the story of Jake's fate became a part of local folklore. His name was whispered in hushed tones, his story a chilling reminder of the cost of venturing too far into the unknown. The legend of the witch endured, a tale of dark magic and sacrifice that would never be forgotten. For those who dared to venture into the forest, the cabin remained a place of mystery and dread. The ancient structure, with its flickering windows and acrid smell, stood as a testament to the witch's power. The whispers of the forest, the rustling leaves and distant calls of nocturnal animals, served as a constant reminder of the unseen forces that inhabited the woods. In the end, Jake's story was a grim reminder of the fragility of life and the ever-present dangers that lurked in the shadows. The witch's sacrifice was a tale of horror and loss, a story that would continue to haunt the town for generations to come. The cabin in the woods, with its dark history and malevolent presence, would forever remain a place of fear and mystery, a testament to the enduring power of the supernatural. Jake's parents, though broken by their loss, found a measure of solace in the knowledge that their son's story had become a warning to others. Their pain, though immense, served a purpose, a reminder to always be cautious of the unknown. The witch's sacrifice, though tragic, was a part of the fabric of their lives, a dark thread woven into the tapestry of their existence. The The legend of the witch and her cabin in the woods would live on, a story of dark magic and sacrifice that would continue to captivate and terrify those who heard it. The memory of Jake and the horror of his fate would endure, a testament to the unseen dangers that lurked just beyond the edge of the known world. The new neighbor. Anna had just moved into a new apartment, excited to start her life afresh. The building was old but charming, with creaky wooden floors and vintage fixtures that gave it character. She quickly noticed her neighbor, a man in his late 40s named Mark, who seemed overly friendly, always appearing at odd times to offer help or just chat. First, Anna found it flattering. Mark would leave small gifts at her door and always had a smile ready. She appreciated the welcoming gestures in her new environment. However, it wasn't long before she started to feel uneasy. Mark's frequent appearances and constant attention began to feel intrusive. His eyes lingered too long, his smiles stretched too wide. One evening, Anna found a bouquet of flowers at her doorstep. Attached was a note that read, "Just to brighten your day." It was sweet, but something about it felt off. She thanked him politely, hoping to establish a boundary. But Mark's behavior only intensified. He would stare at her from his window, follow her footsteps through the walls, and leave eerie messages on her answering machine. "I'm always here for you." His voice would echo through the silence of her apartment. Anna's discomfort turned to fear. She reported the incidents to the landlord, who dismissed her concerns as exaggerations. The police were no better, seeing no real threat in Mark's actions. "He's just being friendly," they said. Frustrated and scared, Anna felt isolated. Her attempts to distance herself from Mark seemed futile. Then the incidents in her apartment started. Lights flickering, items misplaced, and that constant feeling of being watched. One night, as Anna was getting ready for bed, she heard a soft, rhythmic tapping coming from the walls. She tried to ignore it, but it grew louder and more insistent. Panic set in when she realized the sound was coming from inside her apartment. She searched every room, but found nothing. Suddenly, the lights went out, plunging her into darkness. Her phone was dead, and the tapping turned into heavy footsteps. Anna's heart raced as she stumbled through the pitch-black apartment, trying to find something to defend herself. She felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Just as she reached for a kitchen knife, a hand clamped over her mouth, stifling her scream. Mark had been watching her every move, and now he had her. Over the next few hours, Anna endured unimaginable torment. Mark reveled in her fear, dragging out her suffering. He whispered taunts and threats, his breath hot against her ear. Anna fought with every ounce of strength, but she was no match for his deranged determination. Anna's struggle was desperate and fierce. She managed to kick and claw, landing a few blows, but Mark's grip was relentless. Her screams echoed in the confined space, a stark contrast to the silent night outside. Mark's eyes glowed with a twisted satisfaction as he inflicted pain, each act of cruelty more brutal than the last. Anna's world became a blur of pain and fear. She could feel her strength ebbing away, her vision dimming. The last thing she saw was Mark's face, a mask of sadistic pleasure, before everything went dark. When the police finally responded to her neighbor's reports of screams, they found Anna's lifeless body, marked with the signs of her brutal end. The apartment, once a place of hope and new beginnings, was now a scene of horror. Mark was gone, leaving only a chilling reminder that no one had believed her. In the days that followed, the building was enveloped in a somber silence. The residents whispered about the tragedy, their voices tinged with guilt and fear. Anna's warnings had been ignored, and the consequences were devastating. Mark had vanished without a trace, leaving behind an air of dread that permeated every corner of the building. The landlord and police faced harsh criticism for their inaction, but it was too late for Anna. Her story became a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the dangers of complacency and the importance of taking every cry for help seriously. The charming old building, once a symbol of new beginnings, was now a monument to a life cut tragically short.